wanna get sick. Okay!
I wanna get sick.
Man, I wanna get sick.
Howdy ho! It's the Sick Show. Cute Fancy is up in the easy. And really, for real, I wanted to make a response video and a part 2 to the Black Women Gotta Give Love video that I did yesterday. So that's why I put on the same shirt, just so it can seem like it's a part 2. It could go to sync in together, okay, like that. And I got quite a few comments, and I just wanted to, respond in a video because there's a lot of typing in. I do have some other thoughts on that. And then that way I could just dedicate this full video to that. So, shout out to Slim Shell, Nikki J Beauty, Daryl Hayes, Bella Christina, Hanging with the Jameses, Conscious Creature, Something About the Alexanders, Heart Mama V, Deke Speaks, Day to Day Davis, all of you all that left me a comment. And, the ones that have channels, check them out. And thank y'all for commenting. I think that this is a topic that affects all of us. It affects our community, and we have a platform that we can all bond together and try to make some changes and differences with these problems for our children, not to have to go through the stuff that has been affecting us for years and years and years. So let me speak on it. Okay. So the first thing that I do want to talk about, because I talk a lot about money and stuff not being about money and this and that. I do realize that, our world is built on money and commerce and economics and all of that. And I know that you need money to survive and all this stuff. So what I'm saying, though, the problem that lies with the illegitimate children situation, that starts with sex. That starts with sex. And I feel that if we would start with that problem, like whatever happened to first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes the baby and the baby carriage. Somebody's going to be interrupting this video. What's happening here? So I just had to, someone's just going to be in this video, with their hair because, they're taking care of the business. But whatever happened to first comes love, then comes marriage, then come the baby and the baby carriage? I mean, that's whack. I mean, we got to sex somebody down before we get to know them and all of that. I mean, people say, well, if you don't have sex on them before you get married, how do you know if it's good? Well, if everybody was virgins when they got together, then it would be good. I mean, I'm just tired of this stigma where black women and men. Black men are the mandingos, and the black women are known as the sex whores. Why do we have to live up to that standard? But back to what I was saying, the whole illegitimate kid thing has been going on from generation to generation to generation. The men blame the women, and the women blame the men. But equally, I didn't know that, people could get pregnant on their own, and I didn't know that men could get women pregnant without, by themselves. So it's a issue that affects men and women. So I should say black men and women got to give love and respect to one another. Now, let's talk about this. We all have kids. You know what I mean? And I talked about this in another video, the age that we start talking to our kids about sex. And what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing, and keeping an eye out on our kids. Watching what we do in front of our kids so that they aren't, thinking that they're supposed to do the same thing, because kids think they're little adults. Now, first off, we know that we're having sex, premarital sex. We know that we're having promiscuous sex. So if you know that you're having promiscuous premarital sex, and why aren't you using birth control? That's mainly for the women to do. Men can use condoms. Men have your condoms on deck, of course. But how reliable is a condom, a thin piece of rubber, when you don't know what type of sex these people, are having, how aggressive it is and stuff like that? So, men need to be responsible by having the condom. And then women need to be responsible by having the other forms of birth control. There's the pill, there's the patch, there's the IUD. There's the shot. There's spermicide. You know, I tell this to men. Men, y'all need to have y'all a kit. Men and women need to have a kit. That kit needs to include condoms. It needs to include spermicide. It needs to include the morning after pill. It needs to include a HIV kit. And you need to have that with you on deck. Now, if in case the condom breaks. Now, after all of that, if women are too embarrassed or ashamed, you know, or they don't have medical insurance now, you know, there is Medicaid for those that are low income, that, you know, may not have jobs, that don't have medical insurance. You can go get Medicaid, just like how you went down to the child support office. You can get that as well. So it ain't no excuse for that. Planned Parenthood, I found out, is not free, you know, but it's a small price to pay. It's $70 or whatever than having a baby. Now, you haven't heard me talk about abortion. I'm talking about the steps before that. If you are going to have sex, you are going to have promiscuous sex, and you're not going to use, you know, those different forms of birth control, there is the morning after pill. The morning after pill gives you 72 hours to realize that you had unprotected sex. 72 hours, that's 3 days. For those that don't know, that's 3 days to decide to take it. You remembered that you had unprotected sex. You don't need a prescription. You don't need a doctor. You can go right to your drugstore, and they have it right there. You just ask for it. It's $50. You need to have your $50. But I'm pretty sure that between two people, 25 and 25 each, you know, man and woman, y'all can come up with that, you know, so that y'all don't have to be talking about abortions. A lot of people don't want to do that. And I can understand that. But let's talk about the measures that you do before you get to that point. Now, you know, in my days, they didn't have the morning after pill. I would have took it, you know. They didn't have a lot of these they had the pill. You know, they didn't have a lot of these things. They had condoms and stuff like that. But anyway, so even if a child does come into this world. Now, and this is, you know, people say this stuff is easier said than done, but if you are having a sexual relationship with somebody, that means y'all are exchanging bodily fluids. That's just the same as somebody cutting their arm open and you licking their blood. You mean to tell me when the sex is over, when y'all don't like each other, is so much hatred that you are willing to do whatever, put this person in jail, you know, have them get a felony so they can't, you know, get a good job, and then they still can't pay you, all because you are scorned, and because they didn't want to be with you no more and they found somebody else. And you may have found somebody else. You may have, you know, other children. But the thing is that how can a black man pay his child support when he's in jail? How can he get a job if he has a felony for not paying his child support? Now, I'm going to talk to the black women and the black men on this. Because when the child is born, and, you know, it's decided, you know, it's automatically decided that the woman gets custody, which ain't right. And then the woman goes down and she fills out the paperwork for child support, but she wants the man to be in the child's life, but she doesn't think to fill out a form, the joint custody form, so that he can have custody too and rights. That way all the burden isn't put on her. Why do black women want all the burden put on them? Why do they want to say, I do it all by myself. That motherfucker ain't shit. That nigga ain't shit. He don't do shit. He ain't this. He a deadbeat and all of that. Why do we go through all of that when at the time that we can fill out that paperwork, we don't do it? And then that way the court is going to decide in whatever favor. They don't know your situation. They just look at it and they just decide what's best for them so they can get their cut out of it. And we don't think about that. We don't think about, you know, when we go down to get, you know, the assistance, the food stamps, the Section 8, and all of that stuff that will assist us, which some people do need it. But why don't we try to, you know, do that? So when the man, you know, you got him, it's 7 days out of a week. It's 30 days in a month. So 15 days, he's with the mom. The kid is with the mom. And 15 days, he's with the dad. That way, the financial burden is split. So then, you know, they're sharing it. You already getting the free medical, so the medical bills don't need to be paid. If the woman is getting food stamps, you getting that. The man is you know, getting whatever he have. Well, we're all basically low income. We ain't rich. We out buying stuff that, you know, we can't afford. We got car notes when we should just save our money and get a car that's paid for. We got houses that we can't afford. But I'm talking about the people that, and the women that do get the assistance, that get the Section 8, that get the food stamps, that get the medical, and then get the child support. You got 4 lifelines that's helping you, because the man ain't shit. But so are you really doing it by yourself, or do you have 4 lifelines? You had to get 4 other things to assist you than just going to the source and getting that man and y'all sharing the custody. Now, I'm talking about this in a personal experience, okay? You know, I have been married before and divorced, and there's no child support involved. You know, I was ignorant at first. You know, when we were going through, you know, our homegirls and stuff, girl, you better go down there and get child support. And I went down there to fill out, you know, the paperwork, knowing that he was in her life. But I was trying to get what all of my homegirl friends was telling me that I was entitled to. You know, you know you want to get that. You know you want to get that. And, you know, he went down, he brought his mom, and they were like, he has his daughter just as much as she does. Ain't no child support. And it made me feel away, because I knew I was wrong. So when we got a divorce, you know, it was agreed amongst us that we were just going to do the 50-50 thing. And that's what the court was even like, yes, that's big of y'all to do that. Despite what differences y'all have, y'all trying to raise this kid right. Now, down the line, it didn't, you know, turn out like that. But as much as I did not like that man, I could not see the father of my child in jail, or not being able to support himself, or even move on with another family, because he got this burden from a relationship that didn't work out. I was woman enough to be like, okay, scratch it. I don't need that man's money, and he don't need my money, because we both out here like niggas trying to survive in this world that's already against us. So that's what I'm talking about. And, you know, maybe I'm hurting some people's feelings, or people getting in their feelings, because we don't want to hear stuff that we know is true that's happening with our cousins, with our sisters, with our mothers, with our friends, and all of that. We won't say nothing. We just, oh girl, yeah, take his ass to child support. He need to pay. He need to be doing this. And I'm not giving a pass to men that, you know, aren't in the lives of their children. But I will say this. I do know some people personally that want to say, I'm doing it by myself. They don't make the effort so that man can be in the lives of the children. How can you expect your children to love and respect a man that you constantly put down, that you constantly talk about, that you constantly say ain't shit and that ain't doing nothing for you? And then when you tired of these kids not acting right, and when they bad and then they don't really respect you all like that, you want to send them off to this man that they have never heard nothing good about, and you send them off to this man once or twice a year, And you expect this man to fix everything that has gone wrong in the household that you have raised these kids in. Because you didn't want nothing to be, you didn't want to be bothered with him because he don't want to, still fuck you or, be in a relationship with you, or because he's moved on and you haven't, whatever the reasons are that women have. You've put this burden on yourself. And I know how hard it is to raise a kid. I got one in the house. And we got 4 outside of the house. So I know. And our situation ain't like Tiny and T.I. where you see all those kids and they doing all of that stuff. And it should be like that. It should. So that's why I'm talking from, a perspective of a wife and a mother and a stepmother that feels that, and knows that black people don't come together because we are so angry and mad about things that have happened 15, 20, 10 years ago. And we want to place the blame on everybody else but ourselves. And we don't take the responsibility that we should be taking. And that's the problem. To the person, I don't talk about people disliking my videos because I don't care about that. But I like, that people have a feeling about what I have to say. That means that I'm reaching, somebody. I'm hitting a nerve. And I'm doing it in a cool way. I ain't dogging you. I'm trying to say that we need to look at our lives and look at, our families, and we need to do better. We need to stop this cycle. We need to stop this cycle of being angry. Are we still mad because we were slaves? We were slaves however many years ago, and none of the people that were slaves are alive today, the whites or the blacks. So why are we using that as an excuse? Okay, we don't have money. Well, why don't we have money? Why aren't we using the money that we have wisely? Why are we trying to keep up with the Joneses and have things that we can't afford? Because a lot of the people that I know that are broke, me, at one point in time, had things that they had no business having, supporting our families. There ain't no way that me and my husband should have 4 other kids in the house that y'all have rarely seen from 3 other people, that are too prideful and angry to come together and have a conversation with. All of us need to be in the room together. It needs to be my husband, me, and those 3 people, and really those kids. We all need to be together. It don't need to be no private, conversations with each individual person so somebody can want to talk about, the past relationships that they had that didn't work. We all know that the relationships didn't work. We don't even need to talk about what didn't work. Those are all old. But we do need to talk about the problems that, are happening, with our 4 other kids. Because our 4 other kids, each one of them, has an issue. Instead of looking at our videos and saying, oh, Saturn Q is so smart. He sold this. He sold that.
Mommy.
Yeah. What am I doing? Yeah, I'm talking. And he's this, and you didn't do that with this kid, and you didn't do that with that. Well, maybe we didn't have the opportunity to because we can't talk to people like people have sense. So I'm making a video. Like I always say, I talk about myself. If anybody out there, is going through a similar situation and you can relate to this, then, thumb it up. If you feel like what I'm saying is some bullshit and you don't know nobody else on the earth that is going through this, still thumb it up. Because you do. And let's stop being blind to the stuff that's happening in our community, in our life, in our world, to our families. And let's do better for people like him that aren't even 2 years old. And we have 16 years to make sure that at least the children that are raised in his generation are not making these same mistakes by simple conversations that we can have now that we got these platforms like YouTube. You know, talk about it. Talk about the things that you've gone through. If you're a father and you know you are on child support and you're a baby daddy, or you dealing with a woman that don't want you to see your kids, want your money, and you know want to be scorned and cussing you out and stuff like that, talk about it. If you're a baby mama and you got a man and you feel like he ain't shit and he should be doing this and he should be paying you or whatever, talk about it. If you're a kid and your parents don't get along and you want to know why, talk about it. Make a video about it, because there are other kids, there are other men, and there are other women that are going through the same thing that you are. And if we stay quiet about it or keep ignoring that this stuff is happening, it's only going to get worse. And it's not going to get better. And if we want a future as Black Americans, we have to do better by loving each other, by understanding that each one of us has struggles, and then making a change. It's not going to happen overnight, but make that change with you first. Like, I'm making the changes with me. We have all made mistakes. We have all made choices that, you know, were not good. So let's do it together. And I'm going to end this vlog. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see y'all tomorrow.
Invade your airspace without a trace. Our DNA lace your system, another victim. Prediction of them sick inflictions is numerous. The mission, everybody's body consuming us. It's humorous, oh so serious, got you curious. What you looking for? Everything you want, baby, here it is. In your ear, out the other. Tell your mama, tell your brother. You've now been perfected. Did I fucking stutter? Gotta love us once you catch the germ. Them questions of the hour from the answers you can learn. A lot about people, a lot about relationships. A lot of people hating, but ain't nobody hating. Sick.